All right, you are recording.
Thank you. And I'm calling to order the Board of Adjustment meeting of May 11, 2021. And the first order of business is to call the roll. Madam Clerk, please.
Mr. Guchow,
Here.
Mr. Stewart,
Yes.
Mr. Deek,
Present, yes.
and I believe Ms. Peace is excused. You have a quorum.
Thank you so much, Madam Clerk. The first thing we need to do is we have the agenda that was sent to us earlier. Would you please, I hope you've had a chance to review it. It's very brief, actually. Is there any change that you wish to make to the agenda? Mr. Deek?
No, I do not.
Mr. Stewart?
No changes recommended.
All right, and I have no changes either. With that in mind, the agenda is approved. The first item of business then we need to turn to is the minutes of the previous meeting of May 4, 2021. Have we had a chance to review those minutes?
Yes.
So, Mr. Deek, are there any changes that you wish to make to the minutes of May 4, 2021?
No, sir.
Mr. Stewart?
No, I think it's good the way I was going to make a suggestion, but I'm not going to do that. I think it's great the way it is right now.
Okay. I have a couple minor clarifications on page 2, where it says, well, I made every motion here, but it says, Berengucho moved, Tomas Deek seconded to grant the motion to dismiss. Do you see that in the middle of the page? I would like to clarify that by changing the to read Eppley Hultquist's motion to dismiss. Is that agreeable, Mr. Deek?
Yeah, I mean, it clarifies it further, but I guess we still remember what we were doing. Yes, I'm good with that.
All right, Mr. Stewart?
I think that's a good catch.
All right, next thing, the last motion on the bottom that says Berengucho moved, Tomas Deek seconded to affirm that AMC 210305, etc., controls the proceedings at this time. And I would like to strike the proceedings and substitute for it Plating Board case number S12545.
Accept.
Mr. Stewart?
Yes, that's good.
All right, that has been accepted by Mr. Deek and Mr. Stewart. And then on the top of the next page, where it starts out the summary of action dated, I would like to again add of Planning Board case number 12545 to make it clear what we are dealing with here. Mr. Deek?
Concur.
Mr. Stewart?
I'm okay with that.
All right, and I, having proposed it, of course, I'm okay with it. I do not have any other changes. Does anybody else have any changes, any additions, deletions, modifications to the minutes of the meeting of May 4, 2021?
No, sir, just one comment. I did make the adjournment motion, so I didn't make all of the motions.
You mean you made the motion and it wasn't me?
The last one was me, so just, you can't have it all.
All right, well, why don't we then change it on the bottom of page 2, Tomas Deek moved, and do you recall who seconded that?
No, it's actually fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Wait a minute.
It's fine as written. I was just making that comment that you said that you made every motion, and I want your standards to be adhered to. So you made every motion except the German motion.
Okay, all right. So you're withdrawing that change. All right. Any other change you're proposing?
Nope, no changes here.
No changes here either.
Okay, all right. No other changes being made. I assume that means we are approving without objection the minutes of the meeting of May 4, 2021. Madam Clerk.
Mr.
Madam Clerk?
Gucci, I'm here, sir. Mr. Gucci.
Yes, okay, all right. So the
Mr.
record
Stewart.
should know that there was
Yes.
no objection to the approval of the meeting
Oh,
of May 4.
very good. Thank you.
All right, we then come, there is no old business that I'm aware of. Is anybody aware of Mr. Deek? Are you aware of any old business that we need to attend to?
I'm not aware of any, Mr. Guchow.
Mr. Stewart, any old business that we need to attend to?
I am not aware of any old business at all. I think we've covered it.
Okay, we then come to item number 6 on the agenda, that is new business. A, matters relating to BOA appeal number 2020-2, and B, matters relating to BOA appeal 2020-3. And for purposes of discussion, we will combine those two. What you have in front of you is a draft of findings of fact and decision relating to those two appeals. Have both of you had a chance to review the proposed findings and decisions of the Board of Adjustment? Mr. Deek.
Yeah, yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Stewart, have you had a chance to review them?
Yes, I have. I've just got one comment.
All right, then, Mr. Stewart, why don't you talk about the comments that you have regarding those proposed findings and decisions?
Okay. Look at the conclusions number 4.
That is on the very last page.
Yes.
All right.
We're saying the staff should serve the appellants, and then it names the other people. But I think we also need to add Holquist Homes in there because their 8 letter is really overcome by events. And they're referring in that 8 letter to a different time period. So I think we need to include Holquist Homes in here.
All right. Where would you like to add that?
We could
I'm
do
looking
it.
at the second line of paragraph 4. How about doing this? Summary of action on Halquist Homes and does that make sense to you, Mr. Stewart?
Okay, summary of action on Holquist Homes, if you put commas on each side of it, and then on appellants, and the rest of it reads okay.
All right. So that the line would read 2021, comma, summary of action on Halquist Homes, comma, the appellants in Board of Adjustment case 2020-002. It should be 02, not 002. 02 and. That's how the line then reads.
Oh,
Is that right?
yeah, that change needs to be made in 1 also.
Then it's 1. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, let me just.
Okay, you are correct. Dennis, are you understanding the changes we are talking about?
Yes, sir.
I do have a question, Mr. Chair. So
Yes.
in our agendas, we just refer to it as -2, -3. So we have like all kinds of, we have a 0 problem here. So which one is the right way how we want to address this? Because I think the original one was actually I think it was 0, 0, 1, 4 for the first case, and the second case, this one being 0, 0, 2. But I defer to that. I just to you on that. But I just want to make sure that we got it all in order. So whichever number is fine. We know it sequences.
I agree with you that we need to be consistent. So maybe we need to ask Jennifer if she happens to know, is there any zero? Because when we look at today's agenda, Jennifer, there is no zero after 2020. It simply says -2 and -3. Should there be 1 or 2 zeros or none?
Mr. Chair, I believe there should be no zeros, though I do admit probably some inconsistencies on my part as well. But since we only have 4 appeals in 2020, I think it would make sense to just have -3, -2.
All right, then regarding paragraph 1 of the conclusion on page 5, the zeros after appeals 2020 should be struck so that it reads appeals 2020-2 and 2020-3, and the same needs to be done in paragraph 4.
And on the very first page,
The same thing needs to
at the
happen
very
in
top.
the preamble.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, there's several places where that exists, and I'll fix them all consistent with your
Okay.
request.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Wheeler. All right, coming back to the word, do you have any other comments regarding the proposed?
The only other thing that I was looking at is, and I did this on the last case that we had, is I was wondering if it would make it easier for somebody to find where we have made actual findings throughout the document. And the reason I'm saying that is that it's easier for somebody looking at it if you could look for something that's bolded. In other words, we find, or we find that, and then we also find that, and wherever you use the word "we find," I was thinking that should be bolded for somebody reading it to easily locate the findings. In addition to that one, that's a little different than the first findings of the Board of Adjustment paragraph, where all those standard findings are located. I don't know what you think of that.
Mr. Deek, any comment regarding that suggestion?
To be honest, I was fine as it's written, but if you want to help the readers, I'm okay with doing some formatting. But I think we have some diligent readers. It's in their best interest. But I'm good either way.
All right, my comment is this. I do agree that we have done what Mr. Stewart talks about. We've done that in the past, but we have also had other counsel who has prepared things differently. And I must tell you, if we make the change suggested by Mr. Stewart, it will totally revamp the proposed findings, and we will, in my view, have to have another meeting to approve it.
Oh,
It is for that reason that I suggest we leave it the way it is. I must tell you that I think after reading the whole thing, I find it pretty clear as to what specifically the findings are. So
okay.
while I agree that it might be useful for some readers, I think the process to fix it is worse than what we have in front of us. And I'm concerned about the timeline here. I want to get this, frankly, going. And if we were to have Mr. Wheeler make the changes suggested, then we have to have another meeting to approve those changes. And I'm not in favor of that. So my recommendation is that we leave it the way it is.
Okay, I didn't intend to delay this by any means. So I'm withdrawing that comment and we'll just leave it like it is.
All right. Do you have any other comments regarding the proposed findings and decisions?
No.
Mr. D, any comments, changes, additions, deletions?
Mr. Chair, no, I think it is clear as you stated, and I think it's going to serve its purpose. So captures what we have accomplished. So I am in favor of going with the version we have. Well, with the changes we discussed.
All right. And I gather that is a motion that you wish to make at this point, correct?
Sure. Let's make it into a motion.
And I'll
So
second it.
I move to approve with the minor changes we discussed. Yes.
All right, and Mr. Stewart seconded that motion. And is there any further discussions regarding the motion to approve proposed findings and decisions of the Board of Adjustment regarding the meeting held on May 4, 2021? Mr. D, any further comment?
No further comment.
Mr. Stewart?
No further comments.
Thank you, and I have no further comments either. And Madam Clerk, would you call the roll on regarding the vote on this motion, please?
Yes, Mr. Chair, and if I may restate the motion, just to make sure I captured it. Mr. Deek moved to approve the proposed findings and decision with the minor changes as discussed, seconded by Mr. Stewart.
Correct.
Thank you. Mr. Guchow?
Yes.
Mr. Stewart?
Yes.
Mr. Deek?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, and the motion has been approved 3-0. We then come to the next item on the agenda, member comments. Are there any comments? Mr. Stewart, any additional comments you wish to make?
I have no further comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Deek?
Mr. Chair, just one comment. Thank you, Mr. Wheeler, and thank you, Jennifer. No further comment.
Thank you so much, Mr. Deek, and I want to join in thanking both Mr. Wheeler and our trusty clerk, Jennifer Veneklasen, and I have no further comments other than that. Audience participation, is there any audience participation? If so, you need to know that you cannot make a comment regarding the pending case. But if you wish to bring something else before this board, now is your opportunity.
Hello.
Okay. Hello? Hello, hello?
Hello. Can anyone hear me on the board? Yes. This is Joan.
Yes. Would you identify yourself?
Yes, this is Joan Priestley calling. I just have an administrative comment for your knowledge. I've tuned in to listen to your meeting, but there's no agenda that I can find anyway posted anywhere. There's no copy of the minutes that you're considering, and there's no copy of anything. I would just like to let you know that it's just very hard to be informed when we can't see what you're considering. Thank you very much. That's all I wanted to let you know.
Thank you for letting us know, and I will inquire of the clerk as to what happened here. It should be on some website, shouldn't it?
Mr. Chair, the meeting notice is posted. I believe the code requires that there be an agenda posted if the topic of your meeting cannot be captured within the meeting notice, and yours is. So the agenda is not posted for that reason.
Okay, how about the minutes, the proposed minutes of the previous meeting? Does that get posted anywhere?
No, it does not.
Okay. All right. Any further audience comments? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Deek.
Sure, Mr. Chair, I would move to adjourn the May 11 meeting of the Board of Adjustment.
I'll
Thank you so
second.
much. And I assume Mr. Stewart is seconding that. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
All right. Has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. I think the motion passes unopposed. And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you so much for attending today's meeting. I very much appreciate it. And again, I appreciate Mr. Wheeler's participation and the clerk's participation. And as soon as I have a final version of the findings and decision, I will hoof over to the City Hall, sign it so that it can be distributed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.